There was something about conformity in the Aristotelian sense, something about participatory knowing
Mm.
that I think I still wanted to kind of touch on because there's a sense of tending to the body, to the somatic sense can do it, tending to the felt sense of relationship of another person as not a concept but as a living being on
Yeah.
a felt sense, not on an intellectual sense, but on a felt
Yeah.
sense can do it. And that could be, excuse me, even another living person such as a tree. That's a living being. You can see it's living. You can watch it move in
Mm.
response to the sunlight. You can watch over time. I've got a planter box right behind my computer here, and I can watch as the plants will kind of follow the sun, or I can see how they're growing to try and put themselves in front of the sun to try and get as much, like there's some
Mm.
sort of a desire there, and I can
Mm.
participate that in that by having my attention on them and not labeling them plant and
Mm.
saying I know that.
Mm.
But I think there's also like a question of in ritual practices, particularly pre-Christian, or I'm thinking the Greeks with some of their esoteric practices, but some sort of a participation with the divine, some sort of participation with a god, or I mean, I guess they didn't have the god back then, but participation with something sacred, which isn't a plant. It's not something we can see, but it's also not just a concept. Um, that's one of the things I struggle with Plato is I often feel like he can easily be misinterpreted to being focused on having the perfect concept. And if you can just
Yeah.
have, the form, the perfect form, but if you don't take that offshoot, if you don't go that way, and you assume that Plato was talking about something genuine and what's the word? Transfiguring,
Mm.
um, that there's like there's some level that we can participate in that same kind of conformity, that same kind of being with. I've been hesitant this whole time to bring in the concept of non-dual because I think that
Mm.
concept gets misused a lot, but I think
Mm.
that's what it's talking about of like there is a thing and there is me, and we are both separate and not separate at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lived experience of that in kind of a mystical sense as opposed to just
Mm.
being a conceptual thing. But I
Yeah.
think we can do that with ideas, like the divine or with freedom or with, you know, um any kind
Goodness.
of goodness. Yeah.
Mm.
Um and to relate to that in a way that is non-conceptual, that is felt in the body, that is, in that sense. I mean, there's this guy, Ian McGilchrist. I know he's made the podcast circuit quite a bit.
I like
Uh,
him.
I,
Yeah.
I've listened to his book. I have not read it, Master and His Emissary, his first
Mm.
book. But he talks about, the left brain and the right brain, and the left brain being, to really dumb it down as hard as I can,
Mm.
the left brain being concepts, fractures, splinters off the whole, little things,
Mm.
and the right brain being everything all at once, the holistic, the holy, the whole thing.
Mm.
And there are other left brain and right brain interpretations, and all that could be up for
Mm-hmm.
grabs. But I bring him up because I feel like he points really well to the difference between the conceptual mind that can break a piece out of the whole and look at it, which is a good thing to be able to do.
Mm.
But the problem becomes when that tool overtakes the conscious awareness of the whole. And so it isn't at the service of the whole. And
Yeah.
I feel like what you're talking about with conformity with Aristotle is pointing towards that sense of the whole and of the self and the joining between the two. So you have that while still maintaining the conceptual mind of like this is a thing I am knowing. There is an information flowing from this thing to me.
Yeah.
It feels like that would be the result of having the two sides balanced.